Hey everybody, QuestWise here. This is our very first video, first official video, I guess, anyway. So thanks everybody for stopping by. I appreciate you taking the time to come over and check out our channel on reviews and game ideas and whatnot. Today, what I wanted to talk about in our very first video is something I haven't seen done before, something I haven't seen anybody else talk about. I call these small format RPGs. Let me explain to you what I mean by small format. By small format, I mean small in size, not small games, not rules light games, but small format. And as an example, and I'm going to talk about several of them today. Please, and if you have any thoughts or comments about any of these games, or maybe some of the games I've missed, please leave a comment down below below the video, and I will try to put links to all of these the games that we talk about today down below as well too. So, but by small format, what I mean is games that are encapsulated into small book form. The reason I like these games, the reason why I'm attracted to these sort of games, is it's easy for me to travel with them. You can get everything you need in one small book, or maybe two small books. And they're very easy to pack into a backpack, take with you to a convention or to a game store. And it's a nice thing to have, especially when you don't want to lug around a huge, Dungeons and Dragons book. Or a Pathfinder. The Pathfinder's huge. DCC, Dungeon Crawl Classics, another huge book. And while those games, there's nothing wrong with them, and I thoroughly love those games as well. The small format games, or what I call small format, it's not an official title, are nice because you can stick them in a backpack or into your duffel bag or something, and they go really well. The first one I want to talk about today, and to kind of give you a relative idea of what I'm talking about here, is Lamentations of the Flame Princess. This is by James Raggi, kind of a dark, or as they refer to it here, weird fantasy role-playing. It's a small format, as you can see. Let me see if I can find another book in comparison. Yeah, let's use this one here. So here's what I mean by small format. Here's the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Dungeon Master's Guide, and as a comparison, here is Lamentations of the Flame Princess. So smaller in format, they're not a huge number of pages. This one tags in at about 167 pages. But a full game. There's everything you're going to need to play the game is directly in this one small little book, and more. And the reason I really am a huge fan of Lamentations of the Flame Princess is because there's so much in here that sometimes gets gleaned over in some of the bigger games, and it's amazing to see that it kind of fits in here. James doesn't waste any sort of time at all, or any space at all in this book at all. Even right inside the front cover, you're already having charts and stuff before you even get to the first page. So there's no extra fluff in here at all. I mean, there's no extra space that's kind of wasted. Everything is used to its maximum, its most potential, which is really nice. I played this game several times. This game is fantastic. It can do a lot of things. It does some very good fantasy. Now, I wouldn't recommend this for kids. There's very adult themes in here, very adult artwork. So not recommended as a starter game for kids, but still very nice. And definitely a must-have, must pick up for that if you ever see it in the game store. Get it online. But always, please support your local game store as well. But this is my first one, Lamentations of the Flame Princess. Now, not necessarily every small format game has to be, I wouldn't call this a major publisher. He's a very independent type of publisher, but there's some others that they have larger publishing companies that do these size books as well too, these small format ones. But then there's a few in particular, this next game, Maze Rats. This is by a guy named Ben Milton, probably best known on YouTube as Questing Beast. This is literally, you print this off. You purchase this from, I think, Drive-Thru RPG is where I got this. You print this off in the booklet format, and then you just pop some staples into the spine there, and you have this little booklet. This booklet, literally, I have no idea how many pages this is, but it couldn't be more than maybe 25, maybe, somewhere in there. Very cool little game. Everything you need to play this game is directly in here. What this game is, a lot of this are charts. Lots of charts, and everything is sort of made randomly, from the city creation to monster creation to treasures to characters. I find this really fascinating. I found this game very, very fun for it being only just, maybe 25 pages or so, 30 pages. A lot. I mean, I'm talking tons of adventure opportunities packed into this one little small book. Again, small format. I printed this on regular printer paper. I can't say enough about this game. This is really, really cool. For an independent publisher, a guy who he made this on his computer at home, puts it up on Drive-Thru RPG, and man, oh man, is this game great. The next game I wanted to talk about as well, small format again, is OVA, which is the anime role-playing game. This is produced by the guys, by the guy Clay Gardner wrote this book over at Wise Turtle Games. This is very anime-inspired. I have only run it once, but I ran it to run a game very much like Final Fantasy in that kind of realm in there. This gives you all the stuff if you like anime at all. And I'm not a huge fan. Here's a disclaimer. I'm not a huge fan of anime. I don't watch anime. I don't read anime, manga, none of that stuff. But I've always been fascinated by the themes and the storytelling that comes from a very anime-inspired titles and games and such. This game gives you that. What's interesting about this game is that you create the powers yourself. You come up with a character concept, and the idea of the sort of aspect of your powers that you want to have exhibited, whether it be like a magical sword or it be a fireball burst or whatever it happen to be. You create that and you give it a name, and it gives you a lot of flavor, and it gives a lot of that aspect of sort of creativity, and allows you to mold the characters in the way that you want to in the anime aspect. If you're an anime fan, definitely pick this up. This book clocks in at about 162 pages with some character sheets and stuff in the back. Beautiful art within. Very well done. Layout is very crisp, very clean, very readable. Game is very easy to learn. The rule mechanics are very, very well explained. And even if you're not an anime fan, highly recommend this game. Next one I want to talk about. This is a huge one. These guys have been around for a long time. They've created a lot of amazing, amazing things. They are currently the producers of Savage Rifts, and that's the guys over at Pinnacle Entertainment, specifically Sean Lacey Hensley, and it is Savage Worlds. This is the Savage Worlds deluxe book. This is a soft cover. This one clocks in at 192 pages. 191, 192 with the character sheet. There's a character sheet in here. This is a generic game. Every time I see or experience some kind of a comic, a movie, a book, an article in the newspaper, whenever I think, how can I make this into a game, I always come back to Savage Worlds. There's something about this game that is simple, that is creative, that is amazing, that you can make damn near anything out of this game. The other great thing about this, if you want to get the paperback version of this, it is $10. It is $9.99. There's the price. Amazing. This is exactly what a game company should do. Small format books. Includes everything you're ever going to need to play, whatever genre you want to play in. Be it fantasy, be it science fiction, be it pulp adventure. I've run a lot of pulp adventures with this game, or with this game. I'm ready. I'm on the cusp. I've written some ideas for a fantasy setting. I would love to try some sci-fi with this. Their tagline is fast, furious, and fun. And it truly is. And now I have to admit, it took me a long time before I got into this game. The reason was, and this sounds really, really stupid, it uses a deck of cards, standard playing cards, to use for initiative. And when I first saw it played, I thought, man, that's kind of cheesy. That's kind of weird. I finally took the plunge after watching a few other games and stuff, talking to some friends online, watching some YouTube videos. Took the plunge, bought the book, got a deck of cards out. Let me tell you, the deck of cards idea is utter genius. They do it in such a way that I've owned this game for a couple of years, and I now have over a dozen different decks of cards just to play this game. And I do it because I want to have a deck of cards that's themed to each and every game that I play. So if I'm playing Weird Wild West, and this is a company that does Deadlands, I wanted to have a deck of cards that had a feel for old Wild West. I've done some superhero stuff. I have the superhero expansion for this. I went out and bought a deck of Marvel playing cards just so I could do this kind of thing. I wanted to run a game of like Savage Spider-Man. I bought a deck of cards just because I wanted to theme a game around the deck of cards. This game has it all. This game is really, really fantastic. And this is a good example of a larger game company, a more well-established game company, who can put out a very awesome product and does it in, a small format size. The next game I want to talk about is a game I stumbled upon online. Somebody was getting rid of, and I was kind of intrigued. And I think I paid maybe $5 or $6 for this, maybe. And I'd never heard of this game before. And I've been really intrigued by sort of the smaller publishing companies and the things that they do, and the things that people, ordinary people without giant companies, can put together. And that game is this. It's called Hollow Point. And this is, the tagline is bad people killing bad people for bad reasons. This is sort of an abstract role-playing game in that it's not really geared for campaigns, not long-running games and such. This is a game about crazy action movie, pinnacle of the action movie, like the car chase, be it the gunfight scene. It could be, you could do a game of the players being people robbing a bank and fighting off the police. It's really about just a great kind of one-shot adventure, high action, modern day game. You could do espionage with this. You could do it like a James Bond sort of game where you're fighting Nazis in France. You could do Fast and Furious with this kind of thing, but it's a little bit abstract. The rules are a little bit, you're building dice pools of D6s with this, and it was a little bit hard for me to wrap my head around the first time I read it. And after I read it a couple times, kind of played it out once or twice, it works out really well, and it's a fun game. But again, small format. This is by the guys at VSCA Publishing. Cool, like I said, small format, small publishing company game. Definitely worth checking out if you can find it online anywhere. I'm not sure if it comes in PDF format. I'm not a huge PDF fan. I much prefer to have this in my hand. I really want to have this. I do read PDFs. I do buy PDFs from DriveThruRPG if I'm intrigued. but usually just quick start rules to kind of see if I like the game. And I want to go get the hard copy of this as well too. So this Hollow Point, check this out. Crazy good. Again, probably not for kids. It's really about murdering people. So, take it for what it is. The last one I want to talk about today, met this guy online, talked to him several times, and super creative dude. And I've always been a huge fan of traditional fantasy. Fantasy is my gig. I love fantasy games, and we'll get into that later. In other videos, we'll talk about some of my favorite fantasy games of all times, and some of my new favorite ones as well. And when this guy came out with this, I downloaded the PDF as it was his first edition. It was kind of unclean. It wasn't even published in the hard format yet. And I loved it. It was fantastic. And I took this instantly to. I contacted the author and said, I want to take this to a convention. And that was in Grand Con in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I said, I really want to take this to this convention. I want to share this with people. And the author was kind enough to send me a couple copies to give away. And how he did this, I ran a couple different games. And at the end of the game, we did a raffle. And whoever ticket I drew got to take the hard copy of the game home with them. So I'm hoping to spread the news about this game and about this author. And that's The Hero's Journey by James M. Spahn. This is everything, and he even says in here that this is everything that he's ever loved about fantasy role-playing, be it D&D or any others, and he's encapsulated everything into this game that he really loves. This game is beautiful. Again, small format. This one clocks in at 196 pages. Beautifully done. Very Tolkien-esque art on the cover. Just really, really great. Again, very generic. There's no world setting to this or anything like that. But it has all the traditional tropes of what a fantasy game should be. The one thing I really love about this game, and I've always been a fan of magic, and I've always been intrigued by the history of magic and the different traditions of magic and stuff, and especially magic items, magic spells, be it legendary weapons or traditional magic things like the Cloak of Invisibility or Rod of Seven Parts, that kind of things. What he does with magic weapons in here, I think, is brilliant. And it really feeds into the sort of mythological hero / epic storytelling of the ancients, in particular Beowulf. And I say that because in a lot of times in these mythological stories, the heroes would have these weapons that they would have names for, and they weren't necessarily magical. They weren't necessarily imbued with magical properties, but the weapons themselves had such a history, had such a legacy behind them, that people almost attributed them to having magical abilities. James does this in this game. Your weapon will increase in power, in strength, through notoriety. The more you use it, the epic deeds that you do, your weapons gain bonuses based on those adventures you've done, those obstacles you've overcome, these mythic battles that you've had. They will gain a reputation, so that when people see you with the sword or the axe or the armor or whatever it might be, they attribute those things to having sort of mythical properties. The best thing I can think of is the scene in Braveheart when he meets the guy from Ireland, and the guy from Ireland says, "You can't be Braveheart. I heard he's 10 feet tall." And of course, Mel Gibson's character says, "But I'm Braveheart. My reputation has sort of preceded me." And that's kind of the way the weapons and magic weapons and stuff work in here. And I think it's genius. I think it's brilliant. It's a fantastic idea. But this has everything else in it. This has everything that you would expect from a fantasy role-playing game. And it's very based on kind of old school premises. It has the ability, the option, I guess I should say, to use ascending or descending armor class, depending on what you like from the old school days. But again, if you get a chance to check this out, you can buy this in hardcover format now. You can buy it in, this is a color interior. The chapter headings and stuff are in color, or you can buy a black and white version too, where these are not. This is all just grayscale and stuff. Oh, the other thing I should mention, a lot of the artwork in here is just phenomenal, and it's sort of a blue scaled thing, and it has some amazing Larry Elmore art in there as well too. And if you can see that very well on the camera, but I mean, Larry Elmore, ladies and gentlemen, I would buy a game just because it had his name on it. But again, small format games, give them a chance. Check them out. Again, very portable. Ease of play. I don't want to say the rules light, because there's a lot in this game. There's a lot in Savage Worlds. There's and again, Lamentations. Lots of great stuff in there. So I wouldn't call them necessarily rules light, but light, to carry. And the other thing that's great is a lot of these are very, very cheap. Again, like I said, Savage Worlds, $10. That's an amazing deal. That's a genius idea. If you can make a small format game with everything that you need to play inside of here, genius, because that's a great entry point for people who have never experienced role-playing games before and who may have been curious to try these things out, but don't want to fork out $50 for a game that they're not going to like, 50 or 60, which is the kind of going rate for hardcover rulebooks now. $10. Now, there are expansions that you can buy for these a little bit more expensive, in the $20, $25 range. But I think you could go with this for years and years and years and never need those. And they're definitely not required. So, again, folks, thanks for joining me on my first ever episode. If you liked, please subscribe down below. If you would like to share this video, that would be much appreciated. And we plan on doing a lot more of them. So, thanks a lot, and we will see you very soon back here at the tabletop.